Let's start off from our own Black Stars. It's been a very interesting weekend. Central African Republic, AFCON qualifiers finally over. It wasn't the happiest of qualifications because it was not supposed to be this difficult to begin with. It was a comeback win. In the end, Ghana topped Group E to make it alongside Angola. Coach, let me start off with you before we get into the highlights of the game. What were you expecting going into this game? What type of game were you expecting, and were you surprised by the sort of play exhibited by our players and by our opponents?
To be honest with you, I was not surprised by what I saw of the opponent.
Okay.
Because coming to the game, they knew what they had to do. They knew of the three possible results. There's only one that will ensure they qualify for their very first AFCON. So if you belong to that setup, you should go out there and give it your all. So that if you don't qualify, you yourself would admit that maybe your best was just not good enough on the day to guarantee you qualification. I was a bit surprised with our approach to the game because we also knew what we had to do. We had to avoid defeat. But we were the home team. In avoiding defeat, there were so many ways I thought we could have gone about it. Fundamentally, we should have known that we're the home team. Qualification was that crucial. I mean, it would have been an eyesore should we get eliminated here in Kumasi. I think Hess would have rolled. So pragmatically, if you are the coach, you set your team out there to make sure that they protect the sort of advantage that they had to guarantee qualification. That was what the team eventually ended up doing. But if you look at the fact that this was Chris Hughton's fourth game, and the previous three had not been that convincing. We virtually struggled to beat Angola here in Kumasi. That was his first game. His next two away games were games that we drew. In all occasions, we came from behind to draw those games. So I felt that having now in playing at home and having the sort of players we had on board, although yes, we were missing some key players, Thomas Partey, Ashimeru, Danny Namati, and Cole, I still believe that the collapse that the coach made on the day, or for this particular game, we had enough to have played in a certain way and dominate the opponent in a certain way. Look, I'm one of those pragmatic guys who believe that you don't need to control the ball, you don't need to keep possession to be in control of the game. There are times where you allow your opponent to have the ball, but you actually decide what actually happens in the game. If you look at it, you couldn't tell whether we were playing on the defensive, hoping to counter, or we wanted to dominate the object and impose ourselves and run the show from start to finish. I didn't see that clear distinction between what we really wanted to do. Therefore, once the Central African Republic showed their intent that, look, they meant business, they were in for a game and they wanted to give it the best, we struggled for the first 42 to 43 minutes. And I think if you look at the fact
that's
that
a long time to struggle in a game.
That is a long time against this sort of opposition. With all due respect to them, though, they've never qualified for the AFCON before. We have been there. We've won it although 4 times. That was the last time we won it 42 years ago. So, but at least when it comes to football on the continent of Africa, Ghana is well known as compared to our opponent. And see, what makes me very concerned is the fact that in Ketia, believe you me, we've not beaten any of the top 10 teams in Africa for the past 6 years.
It's something you always hammer on, and I always go through it.
Because at the end of the day, if we want to win the AFCON, these guys will be along. We will have to beat one of them.
You can't avoid
2 or 3 of them. We have to beat them
to
win the AFCON. So if you are putting up such uncertain performance, I don't want to use the word lackluster or sluggish, but at some point in the game we watched, it was very, very sluggish. The build-up of our team looks too slow for me. And to me, that is what it's going to come down to. You can have all the formation, all the system in place, but when the execution is not done with intent, with purpose, and that sort of discipline, then you are not going to get the end result that you so desire in order to bring an end to a 42 year with. This team clearly will have to improve. I think in every department. Defensively, we need to do better.
We'll get into all of that.
So
we'll get into that. I'll let you get into which departments, which players need to be said bye-bye to as we head to the AFCON. I'll get Edwin's thoughts on a few things as well. Let's get the highlights of this particular game. It was Ghana winning by 2-1 at the end of the day. It wasn't a very comfortable win, but it was a win nonetheless. 3 points in the bag, qualification sealed. Let's get the highlights. So one of the biggest questions that have been asked so far since Ghana's qualification is, how deep has the Chris Hughton imprint been on this team? Edwin, it's 4 games in for the experienced gaffer. Not a lot of people seem excited by his era so far. I mean, qualification to the AFCON is Ghana's birthright. We expect to qualify, and we expect to qualify in style. That is what has come into question. How long can he continue to get away with this type of football?
Look, we were facing a team that had not made it to an AFCON before. Okay. And we consider ourselves one of the best, at least 32 nations in the world, because we played at the World Cup. Yep. We shouldn't honestly be struggling against Central African Republic at home. And you mentioned Chris Hughton and his imprint on the team. So far, I don't think we've seen much of an imprint in the team. I don't think this Thursday's game was the game to see that philosophy. It was a game we needed the result from. We needed to avoid defeat, or at least hope Angola didn't get a better result than us. And we did that. Obviously, you are not going to see the best performance from the team. But even prior to that, we've seen this team struggle to win games. In fact, they barely make it into a position where they can stay in games with other teams. They have to come back from a goal down, or win late in games. And you can't sustain this, especially when you are going to an AFCON where you'll be meeting the likes of Senegal, of Nigeria in very good form, of the Ivory Coast, of Egypt. You are not going to go into these games and then go down by a goal and come back into these games, because these teams are not going to allow you to. So I think he has a lot of work to do in that sense. In the next few games, we are going to see the Ghana national team play a couple of friendly games, World Cup qualifiers. There are a few things that he needs to do. Get a settled squad. By now, he should know which players form the core of his squad. He shouldn't tinker and bring in players, unknown players, just to test them. There's no time for experimentation. He should know the players. Unless a few players just step out and become stars in the next few months, there's no way they should be making it into these teams. There are a few players that we should be moving on, or at least keeping on the bench for some time, because so far they are not adding enough to the team. And I'm not happy to say this, but Iñaki Williams so far, I know he's shown signs that he is a top striker, but we need a striker who gets us goals. It might not be entirely his fault, because his teammates are still getting used to his style of play.
That was game number 9.
Game
number 9.
Game number 9.
I mean, we can make excuses for him.
We can make excuses for him, but we still need a goal-scoring striker. And I think Antoine Semenyo, a few cameos he's had for the national team, he's been brilliant. On Thursday, he was fantastic against the Central African Republic. And I think he's made a strong case to become Ghana's number 9, at least for now. Even though those appearances have been from the bench, he comes in with so much energy, a lot of energy that the team needs. And he seems to link up well with the players around him, no matter who it is. On Thursday, it was Enes Nuama. Previously, it's been Kudus. It's been Thomas Partey. It's been Jordan Ayew. No matter who he plays with, he seems to have that telepathy with him. And I think that's what's missing with Iñaki Williams. He hasn't got that in him immediately. And I think the selections to the national team, we need to improve that. There are a few players who their position looks iffy. I don't want to overly criticize a player, but we all saw Babaraman in the game on Thursday. He was really run ragged. And even offensively, which is supposed to be his strongest assets, there were moments in the game where his decision-making was very questionable. There were moments in the game where he could have supported the forward by making obvious runs. He decided to make the more difficult runs, put his team in very difficult positions. And another problem we observed on Thursday was our creation. Unfortunately, we don't seem to create much in our games.
Nope.
When I looked at the stats, our touches in the game against Central African Republic, our most touches in the game came from Salis. Yeah. Then there was Alidu. There was Joseph Edu. There was Jordan Ayew, and then there was Mohamed Kudus. All of those had from between 58 and 52 passes. However, key passes or big chances created from passes were one for Joseph Edu and one for Alidu Seidu. Nothing from Kudus, nothing from Jordan Ayew.
And that's very telling, because you are telling me that our key chances created were from our defenders. One from a centre back,
from a centre back,
one
from a right back. Nothing from our most creative player. Nothing from our, I like to say, all action attacker who does seem to do everything on the pitch, which is very telling that our offensive players are not creating anything. Without a player like Thomas Partey, we are basically non-creative. We can't go into an AFCON tournament not creating chances, relying on individual brilliance from Kudus Mohamed or a goalkeeping error, if you'd like to say that, or an all-action play from Antoine Semenyo. We are not going to get so many opportunities at the AFCON.
Coach, I think my biggest problem with the Hughton era is that we have no offensive identity, we have no defensive identity, especially defensive identity. That was supposed to be his forte. That was supposed to be his stronghold. I feel like in all the 4 games we've played, we've needed rescuing with individual brilliance. We struggle against minnows like the Central African Republic. How are we going to beat elite teams when we get to the AFCON? Remember what the Central African Republic head coach said, Raoul Savoy. He says that we had the better players, but he had a better team and they played better. Exactly. And that we are definitely going to see the same fate we saw in our last AFCON based on what he has seen.
I agree with him. And for that matter, things need to change. If things stay the way they are, then clearly we will suffer the same fate from the last AFCON. Look, Nketia, so many things needs to change. That is my worry. The manner in which we press. We had only one decent press. We won the ball in the attacking only once. That was what resulted in our second goal. So which means Jordan was not pressing the ball properly. Kudus, Inaki Williams, and even Osman Bukari. And when they decide to press, there was no proper coordination. Nobody was anticipating. Look at the Semenyo one, the one that resulted in the second goal. When he went to press, that was when, I think it was Gideon Mensah. So Gideon had blocked the channel. So Semenyo came on the blind side of the player, brushed him off, and then we ended up scoring our second goal. So the coaches need to design a way of pressing. If you are going to do high press, it has to be coordinated. If it's going to be a medium press, it has to be under Chris Hughton. I doubt whether we'll do a high press because knowing him, he want to keep his defensive shape. That is again why it is a bit worrying that is supposed to be his tactical strength. We are not seeing it. It's like, apart from the clean sheet we kept against Angola, we've conceded in every game under him. And if you look at the goals we are conceding, they were all avoidable goals. These are goals that we could easily have avoided. The latest one being what happened on Thursday. Now, defensively, we need to have a proper map. What I saw of the Black Stars on Thursday is that we only had defensive line cover when we were being attacked from the flanks. That was why, despite the fact that Babara Man was being exposed, especially Jiku could cover him, or Joseph Edu could cover him and deal with the situation. As for the right back, I don't have any comment to make about him because he's got proper recovery. There were 2-3 occasions where you could clearly see that he needed to rely on his pace. He matched the attacker for pace and dealt with the situation. Now, in the middle of the pack, clearly, if we are to chase game or start game that requires that we play possessive football and mix it with a bit of attacking instinct, we cannot go Salis and Elisha Wusu. I'm not going to dwell so much on that because if Thomas Partey comes, Elisha Wusu automatically will give way. He goes to the bench. My biggest problem with this team, which Edwin just spoke about, is the lack of chances created. Do you know why that is so much of a problem? Jordan will never see
a channel open and pass the ball once.
Like we could call it 2v1 or 1v2, give and go. He will never see that. Kudus will never see that. Osman Bukari will never see that. That is the fundamental reason why Inaki Williams is struggling. So if I'm the manager, if these guys cannot play to the strength of your, because look, it is an eyesore.
What's the problem among the three players? Because those are three pretty talented players.
They tend to touch the ball too many times. At the end of the day, you allow the ball to do the movement for you.
Yeah.
When you see, you should see the pass and go simple. If you look at all of them, the one I would have given the license to actually take on players would be Kudus. But even that, if I'm the head coach, I'm going to demarcate areas for him. Look, when you're in the middle of the pack, give, receive, go, give, receive. When you get to the final attacking third, like Bukari did, that resulted in the free kick that eventually earned the team the equalizing goal, then you want to encourage. But even that again, you still come back as a head coach and tell them that when the pass is on, give the pass. Because that is what makes the game so simple. My problem is Chris Hughton with his pedigree.
Yeah.
I don't doubt his pedigree. So when I see certain things being repeated, being recycled,
you have to question
over and over again, then I begin to question his pedigree. Because look, he should be telling Jordan, we are playing in this way. He should have what it takes to look in the eyes of Mohamed Kudus and tell them, you are technically very, very brilliant. But if you see the pass, let go of it. I was so impressed with Nyama because he is the sort of person who takes on, when he came in for that,
he's very direct.
He's very direct. If you've got players like that, you want to fancy them on a 1v1 situation. Like the way the French team treats Kylian Mbappe. You can clearly see that it is a direct instruction from Didier Deschamps that if Mbappe is isolated 1v1, let it go to him quick. And we've got Nyama. If Joseph Pencil, hopefully he'll be around. He's there. Even Osman Bukari. But in the middle of the park, Salis must be told that in that role, look, I think there was a game of Chelsea Old Wadis against Bayern Munich Old Wadis.
Michael Essien was.
Look at Buffalo.
Michael Essien was doing his thing.
He reminded everybody how the job is done in that department. 1, 2, give and go, receive back. And he said, when you play football like that, you see.
And that's what endeared Salis to everybody when he first came into the team.
Exactly. That is what you're supposed to do. What has gone wrong? And I'm happy the young man himself, Salis, I'm referring to, has admitted that, look, things didn't go well. Young man, if you're watching, those closer to you, it didn't go well because you were doing too many unnecessary things. Going forward,
keep it simple.
Keep it simple because in that department, you are the anchor. You are the one who links the defense to the attack. So if you complicate issues there, you are going to be found wanting.
Let me ask 2 questions before we go on here. Which players should not be making it to the AFCON, and which players do you think should be on our radar to beef up our team? I'll ask Coach the same question.
Well, it's a very difficult question to be put on the spot. I think that, contrary to popular belief, I feel Andre Ayew has to be in the team.
Yep.
I think there's a leadership gap in the team, and teams suffer when there's not that strong presence in the background, not even on the pitch, in the dressing room, who can say, when things aren't going well, everyone calm down, listen to the coach, do this, and it will go well. I feel Andre has to be in the team. Barbara Mann should not be starting.
Okay.
I know he is playing really well for PAOK, and he's playing really well for them. And that Gideon Mensah is probably in the second division or in the French league. But we know clearly who the better left back is. Gideon Mensah should be starting at left back. Yes, and there's Nyama. He's played his way into a starting place in the team.
I think he's earned a right to start.
I think he's earned a right to start. I know a lot of people will say, oh, he's a super sub, let him come on and explode against defenders. But we need to impose ourselves right from the start. We can't have our players trying to get back into games, be a goal down and trying to get back into it. In defense, I think it's in defense that we need to make a couple of changes. Daniel Amate, I know he didn't play in this round, but he might have played his course with the national team. I don't think he's at that level where he should be starting for the national team. And there are defenders above him. I know Salisu is injured, but he gets into the team when he is fit. It's beside him that we need to sort out. Whether it's Joseph Edu or Alexander Jiku, try and play that pairing together for a consistent number of games. Centre backs rely on telepathy between them. If they don't have that chemistry, that connection, you are going to see a lot of mistakes. One goes, one stays, they don't know how to play together, and then it leads to a lot of goals being conceded. Apart from that, I think our scouting needs to be better. I'm sure there are a lot of players all around the pitch, all around the Europe, all around other continents who are quality enough to play for the Black Stars. If we just push a little bit, ensure that, give them assurances that if they play consistently, if they play very well for their teams, they will be a key part of the national team going forward. That is all they need. That's all the assurance they need. They need to know that our eyes are on you, and if you keep playing how good you are, you will be part of the team. I'm sure they will be willing to play for the national team.
Coach?
I have a dissenting view on Andre.
Okay.
I think the time has come
to move him on.
As a country, we need to look beyond him. I completely disagree with people saying this should be his last AFCON. I think, look, he's been around for 17 years. First and foremost, he should get a team.
Okay.
If he doesn't get a team to play, he comes nowhere closer to this team. People like me, I'll be questioning Chris Hughton and Masau Didi Dramani, Mr. Boateng, if Andre is clubless, like he is.
And he goes to the
AFCON. That should never happen. And even when he gets a team, the captain of the Black Stars cannot be playing 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15, at club level, and come and command a regular position in this team. I've seen this team play without him. I disagree with Edwin where he says with that Andre there's leadership problem. I don't think so. Because I think that this team, rather in his absence, there's proper leadership and direction.
You're not worried about Kudus, and it's a young core for most parts.
Let me tell you something. These guys rather are liberated in his absence. That is what I have.
Maybe on the pitch, but don't you think that we've had discipline issues in the past?
It's about what happened on the pitch.
That's what happens off the pitch, not affect what happens on the pitch.
I don't think there has been anything indiscipline off the pitch with the current crop of Black Stars players. I've not heard anything.
Fair.
So I'm concerned by what happened. I think in his absence, the boys are liberated.
Fair.
The Newman, the Kudus, they are rather liberated to express themselves. Nobody will be running to them, giving the ball, let me shoot. No. We've gone past that stage. I am saying that the time has come.
Yeah.
The young man, he served Ghana very, very well.
Yeah.
I think 17 years of quality service needs to be rewarded in a certain way. Not to say he should be in the AFCON at all costs. Look, if you ask the players that I think, you see, we are attempting to put an end to a 42-year wait. Every excellent, good Ghanaian player out there should be brought. So I'm looking at Chris Hughton going back and speaking to some of our players who have said they won't play for our team again. The likes of Jeffrey Schlupp should be spoken to. Look, Alfred Duncan, 2 weeks ago, he was not only assisting, but he was scoring.
Does Duncan still want to play for Ghana?
That's what I'm saying. You need to go and talk to him.
Fair.
Give it a time. We know there are issues with the people at the FA, but the FA, they don't own our Black Stars.
Fair.
If
you want to win, you must do hard things.
You must do hard things. I don't know how well Bernard Mensah is playing. Bring every good Ghanaian player into the team. because the team is such that if we can get, look, Alfred Duncan is an experienced player.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Schlupp, very experienced. Because we will need players of that level of experience who are playing.
They see the Marazes,
Not
they see the
players
top level.
who have experience and don't have a clock that we should take to the AFCON. We should stop that.
Fair.
You understand what I'm saying? And I'm happy Richard Ofori is back because it is one department that needs to be what? Keenly contested.
Yeah.
Everybody knows my stand. Lawrence Ati is my boy. But I know what brings the best out of the young man. When there's a healthy competition, that is when he's challenged to do better.
Yeah.
So I'm happy Richard Ofori is back. So fine.
Yeah.
Barbara, man, if we can. If I don't know why we are not looking beyond having another left back after Gideon, because it's looking like Gideon Mensah.
We've done Patrick Kozo, and he was dropped for this particular two-game stretch we have.
Well, we should have looked at him. What is he doing now? Okay, some of us are going to cast our net wider, because we want to see. You see, if you like we saw in the World Cup when they were told that Gideon was sick, which eventually ended up not to be true, Baba will step in, and the problem will recur, and then we are in for big trouble.
When we had Kwesi Appiah, we had Lumo Agbenyanu. He disappeared with Kwesi Appiah. I'm not sure what happened.
Jeffrey Schlupp also solves that issue.
Jeffrey Schlupp solved that issue, actually. Yep, he plays at left back and plays at central defensive midfield. Yeah, I think Bernard Tekwete should be brought into the picture.
Another player who should be looked at.
He's been scoring for fun, assisting for
regularly.
Fun. He's athletic. He's a ball of energy.
And then the boy in Italy, the other captain, the boy, Jesse.
Yeah.
Why is that boy not, since Kwesi Appiah left, he's not been given a
He's
call
not been
again.
given a shot again.
Especially when we are struggling for
Even
goals.
Caleb Ekuban, I think he's a decent forward player to look at. We have a couple of players out there, so there's a lot to chew on. Let's take a first break. When we come back, we have more AFCON highlights. We'll get into some bit of Europe tennis as well. A lot to come on the show. Stay with us.